Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. For today's presentation, presenter Seongwon Hong, PE engineer, U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, and Matthew Whelan, PE engineer, U.S. Army Corps of Engineer. Today's topic is Mineral Wells Community Flood Assessment, CFA. Seongwon is a registered professional engineer in the state of Texas and holds a master's degree in civil engineering from Texas A&M University at College Station. He has over 10 years of experience in water resource management, focusing on hydrologic and hydraulic modeling. Seongwon has conducted HNS studies in collaboration with multiple stakeholders, including TxDOT, municipalities, and FEMA across Texas. After joining U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Fort Worth District, he has worked on projects such as interagency fabrics of management, WHA, Brazos, and Nueces County, and the TSI projects and other significant HN studies. Our second speaker, Matt. Matt has 2 years of experience as a water manager and 4 years experience in hydrology and hydraulic studies, totaling 6 years of work in water resource branches at U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Fort Worth District. He has 5 years of experience in flood risk management through HN studies and dam controls. His work involved collaboration with co-workers and stakeholders, utilizing civil engineering programs such as RAS, HMS, RAS-SEAM, EWRI, MEDVI, and GIS. Matthew is a registered professional engineer and holds an undergraduate degree from University of Texas at Arlington. So now I'm gonna hold the microphone to you guys and start.
Thank you. So I'm Matthew Whelan. This is Seongwon Hong. We're going to be presenting a project that we did for the city of Mineral Wells. It was a community flood assessment to reduce the flood risk uncertainty for the city of Mineral Wells. And then we used 2D BLE data, which is kind of an interesting angle to this project that really helped springboard our start. We were a team of 4. Our administrative lead was Matt Lipinski. I was the technical lead, Matthew Whelan. Seongwon Hong was the RAS lead, and then we had supplemental RAS help from Moses Alabushi. So I'm Matthew Whelan. I work for Water Resources Branch from the Water Management section here in Fort Worth District of the Corps of Engineers. I started in H&H branch. I've done an assortment of H&H studies, just like this project, as well as regulate 25 dams, forecast flood events, and assorted about other projects. My coworker here, Seongwon Hong.
Hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm Seongwon Hong. Actually, I've been joining Army Corps around 3 years. Before I joined the Army Corps, I've been in private sector around 10 years. Before I came to in the state, I was in South Korea. My company gave me a chance to study in Texas. So I finished my master. I supposed to be back to South Korea. My wife, she said no. So I have to say no. But don't get me wrong, my wife, she's American, Korean American, by the way. So then I met really awesome, great engineer in Texas. I found out there are many hospitality from Texas. So I really enjoy the Texan culture anyway, long story short. So we're gonna make a presentation in front of you. I'm very excited to make a good, impressive to you guys, okay.
So the overview of this project is the city of Mineral Wells obviously has some flooding issues. They're already working with Gauge Engineering to try and address this, but they had a limited budget, and we believe that Gauge Engineering is the one that referred them to us, but they got approved for a community flood assessment, community flood assessment, which ended up being 100% federally funded, which just helped stretch the city's budget to go a little farther. And then what we did, our goal was to do a full hydraulic and hydrology assessment of the issue. And then if we had a little bit of time to do storm shifting and a preliminary alternative to address the flooding, the hydraulic model. So the scope of this project was to produce a hydrology model, an HMS model, a hydraulic model using HEC RAS. And then we also did one alternative and storm shifting that we use METView to shift meteorological data over the city of Mineral Wells. And we'll get into that detail later. So we use base level engineering data. So what base level engineering data is, it's RAS models that were produced with FEMA and USGS. They used machine learning to produce these models with a little bit of human oversight. So you can go to these websites yourself and use these models if you need to do a hydraulic study. We highly would encourage it. They're not perfect models, but it beats starting from zero. You get you generally have a good terrain in it and a decent starting point, either a lot of cross sections or a large 2D area. You might have to downsize it. Generally, they're pretty large, but again, it is a lot more useful than just starting from nothing. Really helped springboard our start. So the BLE model, the Palo Pinto region model, which we downloaded, is this thin black line, which is the whole model that we downloaded. The blue lines are the inlets and the outlets. The two on the left are inlets, and the one on the bottom right is an outlet of the original model. And then it was a 2D model, so the break lines just orient the cells to features like changes in the terrain, rivers, and roads. And then the thick outline, the thick black lines on the center, those are refinement regions. In a 2D model, refinement regions just change the size, the cell size. So in the BLE models, they use these generally around towns, around cities, and other interesting features, which worked out really well for our model because we downsized it to this small green shape in the center. And then in the north part, where it's also in the refinement region, is the city of Mineral Wells. So even though we downsized so significantly, thanks to the refinement region, we didn't have to edit the size of the cells. So that worked out great. And then our smaller reduced model, it only has an outlet. That's because it's the headwaters in their portion. So there's no inlets in our model. So to outline the problem that they have here in Mineral Wells, they have in the north portion, so this is our reduced model, and the city of Mineral Wells is in the north portion. We added the lower portion so that we have the kind of the full comparison to the outflow to the HMS model. But the city of Mineral Wells is here in the north portion, and you can see there's a steep elevation change. You can see the white to red to yellow, and then most of the city population is here in this more flat green area. So when it rains, it produces a high volume of runoff, just really pushing it all towards the city, and then it starts to move a little bit slower. And then also the master drainage plan is pretty out of date. It was done 40, 50 years ago, if not more, for the city. And on top of that, there's also the main channel is a concrete line channel, which is undersized for the city and has a few situations like this in this picture where the main concrete channel goes under either a parking lot, or in this case, it goes under a beloved packaging plant, which the city, of course, loves and doesn't want to move. So the hydrology model, we kind of use the same method like we used on the BLE. We use a watershed hydrology assessment. These are just like basin-wide HMS models that we do in the core. Unfortunately, it's something only available to us in the core. We don't share these publicly on a website, so you can't download it like a BLE model. We still ended up breaking out a subbasin into 3, which you can see in this picture. The black and red line is the original subbasin that we started with, and we broke it out to just kind of match our reduced RAS model to these 3, and then we just ended up using the 2 on the right. And we chose to use the watershed hydrology assessment model, just again to springboard us. When we reduced the subbasin into 3 different subbasins, we essentially is like making a new model. We had to recalculate everything, but because we use an existing model that had good data, ground data, impervious data, everything like that, it just really springboarded all of this calculation without having to gather all of that data to make a model from scratch. And then one of the first things we did on the RAS model after we downsized it, we focused on the areas that on the outskirts of the model that we are not going to focus on much after this. We wanted to make sure that no flow was being trapped in artifacts of the terrain. So in a 2D model, the flow is calculated over the cell walls. So each of these little shapes in this picture are the cells, but flow is only calculated over the faces, the black lines. Similarly to like a cross section in a 1D model. So rather than modeling every single bridge and culvert in the model, the ones that are outside of our main focus area, the main flow of the city, we just move the cells so that none of the faces are crossing parallel to the way you would drive over a bridge or a culvert. As long as you don't have any faces crossing over top of them in this manner, it'll just kind of move flow to both sides, so it won't trap that flow. Then our RAS expert is gonna continue the RAS portion of this. Seongwon, huh?
Okay, please understand my Irish accent, okay? So we met a city of mineral well to address one of the most flood-prone area. So actually the current drainage system was built in around middle 1900s. Of course, at the time, city was much smaller. Now the city has grown, and then the weather now significantly also very severe compared to previous record. So So they, CTO Mineral, they took us in this site first, and then as you can see, the around, this is actually low point, and here, as you can see, the whole runoff water flow into one area. So then they ask us, hey, Army Corps, please help us. We got flooded every time when it got heavy rain in here. So how can we improve this situation? So what can be done to mitigate this situation? So I'm gonna share some solution with you guys. Let me explain about our model develop history first. So at that time, city, they hire a consulting firm, Gauge Engineering. So we take a look their 1D, 2D model first. And then we also receive BLE 2D draft version of HANRAS model. And then we also take a look 1D effective FEMA model as well. And then we concluded that, okay, so we're gonna use 2D BLE because that was most current and appropriate model to leverage and enhance. And then so as Matt mentioned earlier, so when we use LiDAR based terrain, and then we found out the bridge appear as solid obstruction. Hey, Seongwon, I cannot go anywhere, I'm blocked. So we had to remove the bridge to make sure, okay, that's the direction you have to go. So we removed the bridge first, and then we found that running time is so long, around 18 hours. So that's why we remove unnecessary area in here. We downsize the terrain. And then of course we update the downstream, the boundary condition. And then we modified and added a brake line to capture the complexity of terrain and flow simulation as well. And then let me see, I don't want to forget anything at all. Yeah, so as I mentioned that Gauge Engineering, we found that they have 1D survey data. So we made a decision, okay, we're gonna use their 1D geometry to make terrain for our proposed terrain for solution to mitigate this issue. So next one, so we actually provide them two solution initially. So as you can see, this is the warehouse. And then, hey, so I think we want to give them very simple answer. Hey, we're going to build detention ponds at warehouse, then it's going to help. And second option, okay, we're going to build the channel extending from Northwest 9th Street to Southwest MLK Junior Street. But after meeting with the city of Minawe, hey, someone, hey, man, we don't want to place a large detention pond in the warehouse. We cannot make it. So after discussion with the mineral well, we approach more targeted approach. And then we suggested, okay, we're gonna have smaller, some detention ponds around flood prone area to make sure we're gonna make better than before. This is a kind of key map. We pinpointed 3 locations based on the history of a recurring flooding event. So the warehouse location in here, and second one is the tributary of the Crystal Creek, and this is the Highway 281. So 3 locations we identify as top priorities. We try to effectively mitigate 3 locations. Also city, also they confirm their location we have to address first. So overall, we proposed 6 detention ponds, but a key consideration was we try to minimize the modification and change the existing flow pattern because we don't want to cause any adverse impact around the property owner first while we improve the flooding issue. So that's why we thought, okay, we're gonna hold the water and then make sure we're gonna have enough capacity. So we used, of course, hydraulic software to estimate detention pond volume first, and then we also estimate the outlet covered as well. And then we, as I mentioned earlier, we modified 1D cross section from gauge engineering, and then we exported as a terrain to place the detention pond in 2D model. So we create the new terrain and then we merge it. So of course, detention ponds terrain will be our top priority, and the second, the rest of area, we merge it accordingly. So through this iterative process, we optimize the size of detention pond and outlet pipe to make sure it could mitigate flooding at least 5 years and 10 years. And next slide, we will show you our mitigation result. So as you can see, the left side, this is the existing inundation map. The red color is inundation existing map, and the right side, this is the proposed condition. So we placed the detention ponds at upstream of warehouse in here. So city agreed that location is more, excuse me, for a reasonable location. So we, our analysts show that, by the way, there is existing box cover in here. This is the warehouse. They have under the box cover under the warehouse. Then we found that, oh, this box cover caused many issues. So we recommended, hey, Minerval, you guys need to remove this cover in here. Then, of course, we have to suggest the solution after we place the detention ponds in here. And then we proposed the alternative outlet cover around 10 by 4 box covered. And then also we investigated, we found that existing inlet, this area and pipe, they are still connected to the box cover under the warehouse. So then we definitely let them know you guys are gonna keep this box cover, and then but we have a new proposed pipe, so we avoid that the causing the issue, the flooding issue in there. And so to further improve, we found that we run 5 years. We found that they have ponding issue a lot in here. So we strongly recommend that Minerval, you guys need to check your inlet capacity and pipes. Our results show that roughly the ponding depth ranging from 0.1 feet to 0.7 feet. With allowable ponding depth is a half a feet because of curb height, but we recommended Minerval, City of Minerval, you guys maybe need to design for 10-year storm event to account for extreme rainfall event in the future. So, and then next slide. Yeah, this is the Highway 281, the left side. This is the existing condition for 10-year storm event. And right side is a 10-year proposed condition. So we concluded, okay, we need to place around 2 detention ponds and to hold the storm water and then mitigate the flood issue, ponding issue, and then release it slowly to prevent downstream the flooding and erosion. Of course, we recommended Minerval should also evaluate this location for the storm drain system for designing flood event. They should consider tailwater elevation if they want to place the detention pond to make sure there should be no more pressure flow from tailwater at detention ponds. Also, there is the bridge in here, but we don't edit a bridge because we don't have data, we don't have enough time to incorporate bridge and cover. So adding bridge in this model, of course, could increase the accuracy and help identify potential risk area. Also, we very specific cover size and then elevation for ponds, but this is only preliminary plan proposed. So we told Minerval should conduct a comprehensive study for construction and PSNE as well. So this is a 100-year event result. The left side is warehouse result, and the right side is the highway 281 proposed condition. The dark green, dark yellow is existing. So still 100 year, the storm detention pond hold the water. So it's still, we show that, okay, we can hold the 100 event. So, but while we show the 100-year result, this is not for design standard, but it is essential to evaluate hydraulic red line in case the storm system, in case to identify potential risk to HGL line, and then potential some risk to some area for life and property in the event of capacity exceedance. So by checking 100-year event, we can make sure our study, range study, safety and downstream development, and provide more comprehensive understanding of flood mitigation. And this is east side of tributary West Creek. And we found out they have a riverine type flooding in here. Riverine meaning is the water cannot stay in the channel overtopping. So long story short, so we also proposed 3 detention ponds to address the insufficient channel capacity. So mostly 10-year water surface elevation and the inundation been significantly better than current situation. So this suggests that detention pond proposed for mineral well can help to mitigate flooding issue. And just for your information, HENRAS 6.7 beta version now has a pipe network. So now you guys can model a storm drain pipe in HENRAS together. HEC Hydraulic Engineering Center in Davis, they still work a lot to improve more accurate model result. So we expect they're gonna release better HENRAS interface version soon. Okay, from this slide, Whelan will continue the presentation.
So after we produced the HMS and HECRAS models, did the hydrology and hydraulics, preliminary hydrology and hydraulics, we wanted to do some storm shifting. So storm shifting is where you find the most intense or very intense parts of storms, and then you just shift it over to your study area. And you only want to use storms in similar areas of your study area. So in this case, it's the High Plains region of Texas. And then we wanted to do storm shifting because when you calculate a interval storm, you want to have 4 times the amount of data as the interval. So like a 10-year storm, you want to have 40 years. A 100-year storm, you want to have 400 years, and like a 500-year storm, you want to have 2,000. But NOAA 14 in Mineral Wells and many other places doesn't have enough data to accurately or to have a high confidence interval for higher interval storms like 100-year. So we like to do storm shifting just to kind of show what that higher storm risk might be. We don't recalculate your interval storms using these. This is just kind of to like show a hypothetical of like what the upper risk might be of real storms that kind of hit in these areas. Maybe they could hit this city, maybe not. But this was outlined just like the kind of worst case scenarios. And yeah, Mineral Wells and NOAA 18 or 14, excuse me, only has 68 years of data. So really not enough to estimate 25-year storm, much less 100-year storm. And then here we kind of, our lowest we started was 100-year storm equivalent, and then it just kind of moved up from there to more intense storms. And again, these are not recalculating interval storms. This is kind of, and we're not saying the city should build to any of these storm levels. This is more for like emergency management. You can pick a place from these maps that we produce from these storms where people could evacuate to, or in a like worst catastrophic storm like these, what roads you're going to need to close down, where emergency management needs to avoid. And our office did come up with this storm shifting method. This is not the first time we've done it, though. We've done it for Dallas County, Marys Creek. We have a regional storm shifting document on this if you want to look into it a little bit more. So the end results of this project, we gave the city and Gage Engineering, who was working with them, a HMS model with modeled interval storms and storm shifting storms, a HECRES hydraulic model with all of the storms put through it, and our preliminary alternative. And then from here, we suggested that they do a full storm drain analysis on the whole city, which unfortunately we can't start with federal dollars. If the city hired us to go pass here, we could, but they're already working with Gage Engineering, and from our talks with them, it sounded like they were in good hands. So key takeaways: we leveraged as much data as we could, pre-made models like BLE, watershed hydrology assessments. We use storm study catalog. This is a catalog of storms that we used for our storm shifting. We use all of this just to help us minimize the amount of time in making models so that we could do more time or spend more time actually performing the modeling and outlining the risk that they have. So now that they have all of this, they can better do planning and policy revisions and have better emergency management in disasters, flood disasters. And then Gage Engineering will take it farther to do a storm drain study on the city and make some more defined alternatives. And again, this project was fully federal funded, so the city didn't actually pay anything for it. We have multiple circumstances where this can happen for a city. Sometimes it doesn't get approved, and we can only do a match to a certain amount. But in this case, they lucked out. We all lucked out. All right, so we'll be taking questions now, but if we don't get to your question, you wanted to ask one, you can feel free to email myself, Matthew Whelan, or Seongwon Han. Our emails are at the bottom of this page. Or if you're actually interested in a community flood assessment or something like that, you can contact our boss, Brett Higginbotham, the Water Resources branch chief, and his info is on the business card. Thank you. Any questions?
We'll take questions now.
Okay, so the question was, now that our project is finished, did we find anything that we didn't want to know? So, I mean, we didn't want to know that the channel was undersized. I mean, so it was built, the channel was built, and the drainage, the city drainage study that was done was 40, 50 years ago. So, I mean, when they did it, we don't have enough data, storm data, to accurately calculate interval storms today. So 40, 50 years ago, they had maybe 25 years of data. So, I mean, they were really just, they didn't have enough data to accurately calculate what their risk was. And it's evident in the city that it's undersized. I mean, they get flooded as is at, like, I think, what, a 2-year storm? It's just, that's not acceptable. And they're addressing it now, to give them credit, but I mean, that's never a good situation. And then, of course, when there's buildings, people always love to build close to water, but this is the first time I've actually seen somebody build on top of the channel. So, I mean, that wasn't, nobody, I mean, no hydraulic engineer loves that. Is that what you were asking? Does that answer your question? Okay. Well, we were not hired to fix the problem. We were hired to outline the risk. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Yes. So we actually use LiDAR data. So this is like flown laser, basically has a laser that shoots down at the ground, and they read data. And then there's processing that removes like plants and trees and other things like that. So we didn't actually do a survey.
Actually, the gauge engineering 1D cross-section geometry, they have some survey data. That's why we try to utilize their survey data to reflect update terrain for detention ponds.
The historic depth, the historic flood height depth. Oh,
I remember that
it's been a minute since we've done this, but I think it was
I cannot remember a specific number, but when we visit the site, the city engineer, he explained the water was full, almost filled up around the picture. We can show you.
the question was what was the max historic
Depth.
flood depth.
Yeah, so I cannot specify, but there's a picture. Yeah, they mentioned that it's filling up here almost more than, so the whole street was flooded. So, but I cannot remember specific depths. So, yeah.
Multiple feet at least.
Yeah.
From our going out and seeing just like the flood, the watermarks on the buildings and trees around there.
I remember the maximum, the inflow, it fill up the existing cover under the warehouse, so it's already over. Fully. Yeah.
Yes.
That over was pretty long. So there probably.
So we there would want to be more consideration into making sure it's large enough, so that you're not getting compressed flow. But I mean, yeah, this was like a very preliminary alternative. Gauge engineering would need to take this further. I mean, our recommendation is to move that building, move that business, and have an open channel. but they didn't want to do that. So this was our alternative, our first alternative, our preliminary that turned into this one with the large culvert. Before they told us that they did not want to move that building, we just moved it and had an open channel. I agree, it would be better to have it like that, but you got to work with them, and that's what we produced. Under further study, it might not work. They might be forced to move that business. That's something that Gage Engineering will have to tackle. Yes. Okay, so the first question was the runtime. How long was the runtime for the 2D model? And I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that second one.
So it was around 18 hours. So we make sure it was around 2 or 3 hours. So we reduced very significantly. Then HANGRA's pipe network, we plan to work on some project in South Korea Air Force, US Air Force with storm drain pipe in HANGRAS. So I never run any pipe in HANGRAS right now, but we're gonna do it maybe next year. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we already discussed with the city, so they provided location.
Yes. So the question was, do we find enough space for our detention spawns? On the one we did, we started with 100-year. On the other ones, the 31-inch. So that was right around the 500-year storm. I believe it was slightly over what they estimated. So probably, I would guess around 600-year, a little bit. I think the 500-year ended up being closer to like 28 inches, if memory serves. It's been a handful of years since we did this project, sorry. Another question?
The storm shifting, their maximum range in storm?
So yeah, we stuck to storms in the high plains region of Texas. So yeah, you kind of want to stick to the same kind of region. Some of these were stretched a little bit farther than we prefer. Kind of like the upper limit. 50 is ideal. 100, you kind of don't want to go past 100 if you can manage. But we just wanted to hit some of those higher limits, so we stretched that a little bit to the 100-mile limit. But if you want to read farther into it, I believe it's the Texas Storm Study Catalog. If you just Google storm shifting, we have some documentation on this that I'm sure you could find.
Use that storm or get that, do you have wear effects going on, or do you just different range?
I mean, yes, we can use whatever storm event. So I mean, HECRAS doesn't have any kind of wind damage or hail damage capabilities in it. So I mean, it would only be the precipitation aspect of it.
certain.
Yes, so I mean, like, if we have the data of that storm, yes, we could use storms that have tornadoes or hail or any of the storms that are collected by the Weather Service that we have in our catalog of storms. We didn't, but that's an interesting. So the question was, could we use a storm that has either tornado or hail or something unique to it? And yes, we could, to see if it changes how the rain pattern is. We could use it, but we didn't take that into consideration on this. But it's a pretty interesting concept. I like it. Thank you. Yes. So the cost, our budget was, I believe it was $100,000 to do all of this, and to do a whole study. I mean, it really just depends on the city. If we were going to go from start to end to do a full master drainage plan on the city, I would probably double that, maybe 200,000. But again, we'd have to take it. It depends on the city, and we didn't do a full look at the storm drainage system. We'd have to kind of like do a preliminary look and study, walk through the city of the current drainage system to kind of estimate that. So this is a rough estimate. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.